Ladies and gentlemen, your government is corrupt. Your government has been violating your constitutional rights. But some of you guys that actually pay attention to this channel, you guys already know that. I mean, even here on this platform we're on, if you actually watch it on YouTube, there's certain things that we actually cannot say about elections. Even though people like Hillary back in 2016 could actually say whatever she wanted. Stacey Abrams, the same thing when it comes to 2018. Well, guys, your government really has overstepped the line and violated your constitutional rights. And now, guys, we have the receipts. And it's pretty sad, guys, that we live in the freest country on the planet, or supposedly now the freest country on the planet. And your right to free speech is actually being violated by the people that are actually supposed to be protecting your constitutional rights. Over here on the Post Millennial, DHS leaks starting in 2020. Department of Homeland Security began meeting with Twitter, Facebook, Wikipedia, and more monthly to coordinate content moderation efforts. That is unconstitutional. It is not the role of government to actually moderate content. They're not supposed to be violating your First Amendment rights. Folks, some of these people need to be impeached. Some of these people need to be in jail, in prison, because this is clearly a constitutional violation. And Twitter and Facebook, this is not surprising. You know, especially with Twitter right now, because Twitter, they were all in on censorship. They were all in on not believing in your First Amendment rights. Remember the former CEO, the fired CEO, Parag Agrawal? Yeah, he pretty much came out and said that he didn't believe in the First Amendment. He didn't care. That leads me to something else before I forget. Check this out. Breaking: Elon Musk, sole director of Twitter, after dissolving entire board of directors. Yes, the board of directors, he fired them. And Parag Agrawal, who already got fired, he got fired again because he was actually on the board. So Elon Musk ended up nuking more communists over there. But back to this. Let's read this. This is very concerning right here. And this guy right here, Alejandro Mayorkas, needs to be impeached. But anyway, let's read this, guys. The Department of Homeland Security has been working to influence big tech platforms. This became originally evident when the Biden administration launched the ill-fated Disinformation Governance Board early in 2022, but has been a focus of their efforts even beyond that now defunct unit and before. Now, folks, when this whole Disinformation Governance Board came out, I was like, this is really crazy and really unconstitutional. Government does not have the right to do that. But they were trying to do it anyway. It goes on. Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmidt filed a lawsuit that revealed via appended meeting minutes that former Microsoft executive Matt Masterson, who was formerly an official with DHS, told a DHS director in February of 2022 this year that, quote, platforms have got to get comfortable with government. It's really interesting how hesitant they remain. Unbelievable. Government has no place in this. Government has no say in what's actually out there. They cannot silence you. They're not supposed to be silencing you. But the marching orders seem to all come from a corrupt government. Prior to 2020, it was reported that DHS met with Twitter, Facebook, Wikipedia, and other platforms in order to coordinate content moderation operations. These meetings were part of an ongoing initiative which saw collusion and collaboration between DHS and big tech to determine how, quote, misinformation would be dealt with on those platforms. Areas that came under this purview included the withdrawal from Afghanistan, undertaken disastrously by Beijing Biden in August 2021, as well as the origins of the Wuhan virus, which became controversial enough that users were kicked off social media platforms for expressing the hypothesis that the virus originated in a Wuhan, China lab. And that's pretty much what everybody believes now. A Senate report found last week that this was the most likely scenario. Information that could undermine trust in financial institutions was also targeted. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency Act, signed by President Donald Trump, opened the door to this as it formed a new branch within DHS, which then undertook to deal with online disinformation. CISA stated its understanding that the mission of the branch of DHS was evolved and meant to communicate their concerns on disinformation to social media companies. Social media companies took DHS's word for it. DHS used concerns about marginalized communities to justify their reach. Of course, they're going to pretty much, try to play the race card and everything like that. But check this out. Much of this effort became evidence as a result of an attempt to fight disinformation in the lead up to the 2020 presidential election. Both Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg and then Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey spoke about their platform's effort to suppress and censor reporting from the New York Post. They did this in part because the FBI had told these platforms to watch out for a, quote, misinformation dump. And we're talking about the Hunter Biden laptop that the mainstream media was telling you was Russian disinformation, but we find out that it was all real. 10% for the big guy. But anyway, during the election, there were weekly teleconference calls, I believe that's what they meant, to coordinate intelligence community activities to counter election related disinformation. Since then, these meetings have taken place every 2 weeks. This is your government talking directly to the big tech platforms to shut you up. The government had its fingers all over social media companies. DHS would tell social media companies what they wanted off the platforms via takedown requests, and then the platforms would submit reports to the government. My God. They would be, quote, called on to process reports and provide timely responses to include the removal of reported misinformation from the platform where possible. And you know what? This makes sense here because that takedown request on Twitter, this wasn't too long ago. That was like a Dr. Fauci parody account. And then we know that the government reached out to Twitter about that account and made them take it down. It was either them or Facebook. I don't remember exactly. I believe it was Twitter, though. And guess what happened? Thanos snapped it just like that. This was specifically done with election information, which would be flagged by state election officials submitted to DHS, which would then tell social media companies to pull it. FBI official Laura Dimlow stated her concern in March that big tech companies were not accountable to the government, saying, we need a media infrastructure that is held accountable. I'm stunned, guys. I'm stunned. Everything is out there. Everything is out there. Everything that we suspected, it's actually happening right now. Now, I'm not going to read all the rest of this. You guys can go over to the Post Millennial and read the rest of this. But folks, your government is corrupt. They're violating your constitutional rights. We got the midterm elections coming up. And guys, if you have not voted yet, you guys got to really step back and think about who you're voting for. Because if you let the Democrats get more control by letting them keep the House and the Senate, the government will continue on and on and on again to violate your constitutional rights. You know, they're already trying to take away your Second Amendment rights. They're just going to keep going further and further and further away. Because, folks, when you give government power, they don't want to give it back. They really, really don't want to give it back. This is insane right here. A bunch of people need to be fired. People need to be impeached over this. We're going down a path, folks, where if we keep doing this, the U.S. flag is going to be replaced with a hammer and sickle. We're going to end up becoming a communist country at this path. I mean, folks, there's already a bunch of communists over there in the Democrat Party that want even more government control. This needs to stop. I'm stunned by this. The federal government is violating your First Amendment rights, your right to free speech. If you say something they don't agree with, they want it taken down. They want it suppressed. And they're doing it through the algorithm. That's just my thoughts on this. What do you guys think of this? Black and White Network fans, let us know what you think about all this in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And we'll catch you next time.